Hi home cooks, today I'm in the kitchen making tomato basil muffin tin frittatas.
I love making these on the weekends to set us up for easy mornings. They're versatile because you can add in an endless combination of ingredients. This one is a classic and for sure one of our favorites.
This easy make-ahead breakfast recipe is quick to make, naturally gluten-free, packed with protein, and delicious fresh flavors. And they're perfectly portioned for healthy grab-and-go breakfasts you can feel good about.
So let's get into the kitchen. This is how I make a tomato basil mini muffin tin frittatas.
Before we mix up this recipe, the first thing I'm going to do is prepare the muffin tin. Eggs will stick to the inside of the pan, so before getting started, I'm going to grease the inside of each one with a little bit of butter. You could also spray each one with cooking spray, or if you have something non-stick like a silicone baking tray, you may be able to skip this step.
When it comes to cooking time, the muffin tin can make a huge difference. A metal muffin tin heats up quickly and is a great choice for mini frittatas. A cast iron or stone muffin tin will take longer to heat up, but will continue holding its heat for longer once you take it out of the oven. And while silicone is great for no stick, it doesn't heat up as quickly as metal. So your frittatas might take a little bit longer to cook through. So whichever muffin tin you choose, make sure you're watching your eggs and don't rely only on the clock.
For traditional metal muffin tins, you're going to want to generously coat the bottom and sides of each one. That way you won't be at risk of leaving any of your frittata behind in the pan.
Frittatas are similar to a crustless quiche or an open-faced omelet. Normally frittatas are made in one large pan. They're cooked and then cut into wedges. This one's made in the same way but cooked in a muffin tin so you can easily portion it out.
Now you can fill frittatas with whatever you have on hand or whatever your family loves. Today I'm going to be filling mine with some fresh flavors of tomato, basil, and feta cheese. You could use fresh chopped tomatoes for this, but those are going to add a ton of extra moisture into your frittatas. So to get that bright, bold tomato flavor, I'm going to be chopping up some sun-dried tomatoes to sprinkle into each little cup. Sun-dried tomatoes are more leathery and harder to cut through, so I found kitchen scissors worked best for this job. I ended up with probably 1/3 cup of chopped sun-dried tomatoes, but of course you can add in more or less depending on what your family likes. The next ingredient we're going to prepare is the basil. I have 2 different varieties of basil growing in my garden right now, and to prepare them all you need to do is rip the leaves into little pieces. If you don't have any fresh basil on hand, you could swap this out for dried basil. You can use other fresh herbs that you might have growing in your garden like oregano or rosemary. Or if you want to add in more leafy greens, sprinkle in some chopped spinach or kale. And now to balance out the flavor of the fragrant earthy herbs and the bright sweetness of the sun-dried tomatoes, we're going to bring in some salty richness with some feta cheese. The chunk I have here is about 1/3 cup, and to prepare it to go into my muffin tins, all I need to do is lightly crumble it up into little chunks with my fingertips. Now my muffin tin mix-ins are ready and it's time to prepare the eggs. To fill a pan with 12 little muffin cups, you're going to need to crack in 10 eggs. This is what makes this meal prep so filling and satisfying. Eggs are one of my favorite ways to start the day. They're simple, nourishing, and filling. Not only are they a great source of protein, they're also packed with vitamins and minerals. They're also a really inexpensive way to add protein to any meal. I'm cracking all the eggs into a large glass measuring cup, and this is going to make it easier for me to pour into the muffin tins later on. Once all the eggs are in, I'm going to whisk everything together. To add some creamy richness to my frittatas, I'm going to add in 1/4 cup of cream. Then season it with a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Then again, I'm going to whisk the egg mixture thoroughly. Make sure to break up any chunks of egg yolks until you have a smooth, creamy mixture. This is going to give each little egg cup the perfect creamy texture. Now you could add your fillings right into the egg mixture, but to make sure all the ingredients are distributed evenly in each of my 12 egg muffins, I'm going to sprinkle each ingredient into the muffin tins first. Now today we're using the classic pairing of tomato and basil. This flavor combination always works well together. But some other great muffin tin frittata fillings that you might want to try are broccoli and cheese, spinach and mushrooms, and two of my all-time favorite, potato ham and cheese frittatas, or asparagus bacon and Swiss cheese. Now my muffin tins are filled with the mix-ins, so we can pour on top the egg mixture. I'm going to fill each one not quite to the top. These are going to puff up and rise when they hit the heat of the oven. So I like to give each one a little bit of space to bubble up without spilling over the edges. Now that all my muffin tins are filled, these are ready to go into my preheated 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius oven. And they're going to bake for 20 to 25 minutes, or until they're puffed up and set. Keep in mind that the eggs will continue to cook for a few minutes after you remove them from the oven. And don't worry, once you remove them from the oven, the eggs will settle as they cool.
Overcooked eggs become dry and rubbery. Remove these when the centers are just set. They'll continue cooking once you remove them from the oven.
I'm going to allow these to cool completely before removing them from the tin. And to make sure everything comes out cleanly, I'm just going to run a knife around each cup. And these little mini frittatas are ready to serve right away.
You can serve these mini frittatas hot or cold. They're a great addition to breakfast, served with breakfast meat, toast, or fruit on the side. Serve them for lunch with a simple side salad, or pack them in a cooler and take them on a picnic.
However, if you are making these as a meal prep, which is what we do to make our mornings run a little bit smoother, then just let these cool completely and store them in an airtight container. Then you can pack them away in your fridge, and they should stay fresh and delicious for about 4 days. If you really want to get ahead of the game and make a big batch to freeze, they'll stay fresh and delicious in your freezer for about 3 months. Since this recipe is so versatile, you could whip up a big batch of the egg mixture and let everyone in the family choose their own fillings. It's also a great way to use up odds and ends in the fridge while making a delicious breakfast the whole family will love.
And as always, you can find a link to the full written recipe in the description box below.
Enjoy! If you're a fan of deliciously simple vintage recipes and old-fashioned skills, then you'll want to check out this next video. Thanks so much for stopping by.